Today I'm taking a look at the 8BitDo Ultimate 2C, which was mentioned in my comment section before. For some reason I haven't taken a look at any 8BitDo controllers before, so it is finally time to rectify that. So is this controller any good? Or should you avoid it? Well, let's find that out. Out of the box, I have to say that I did not like how the Ultimate 2C sits in my hands. No matter what, I can't get a grip that feels good from the get-go. The shape of the handles are just bulging out a little too much for my tastes. That being said, the rest of the controller feels great. From the smooth but slightly heavy triggers, over to tactile buttons and the buttery sticks. The Ultimate 2C is one of these controllers that just feels ready. It also helps that the dongle they provide is the most seamless connection experience I've had in a while. If not for those handles, I would have straight up called it one of the best controllers I've used. But of course, there are some more things to discuss first. I got the controller in the color brownie, but it can also be had in mint, peach, green, purple, blueberry, and transparent black. There's also a Black Myth Wukong edition, but I don't know if that one is still being sold. All of them can be had for $30, but with sales I've seen them as low as $23. What I forgot to add here is that there also are Switch specific versions that come in blue, dark blue, and pink. Now I'll get into the advertised specs. The controller comes with Hall effect sticks and triggers, boasts about 1000 Hz polling rate for wired and 2.4 GHz, has 2 extra bumpers, has a turbo function, can be connected via dongle, Bluetooth and USB-C for Windows and Android, and has a 480 mAh battery. Then moving on to what is in the box. There we get a familiar layout. The controller itself, a USB-A to C cable, which is pretty nice and soft compared to the stiff ones you usually get, a dongle, which I will talk about a bit more later, and a manual, which is one of these that's folded in the worst ways possible. Next up, let's get to the hardware, starting with the actuation force. A, B, X and Y all came in at the same 120 grams. Then D-pad came in with 155 grams for up, 195 grams for down, and 185 grams for left and right. After that comes start and select with 240 grams each, followed by L3 and R3 with 680 grams each. These are some great results for the most part. I can definitely feel the 30 gram to 40 gram difference on the up direction though, which is a shame, but for the rest, it is my best measurement so far. When it comes to the circularity error rate though, it will make or break this controller for some of you. This is because the Ultimate 2C comes with quite an aggressive 80% circularity error rate, and as such is quite square. Even further are the corners, which differ quite a bit, with some being more round and some being more flat. Despite that, however, I haven't noticed any problem, as the stick seems to be quite well balanced to offset the gates. Then finally I'm coming to the polling rate. As mentioned in the specs, 8BitDo claims 1000 Hz on the dongle and wired connection. I greatly appreciate that they point out which connections support 1000 Hz. But if the claims are true, is the bigger question here. The dongle comes in at the max rate of 1000 Hz, so as advertised. I usually don't point this out, but in this case it is a bit extreme, as it seems to have quite the poor stability for me and acts closer to 670 Hz. The wire comes in with a similar result of 1000 Hz max and 360 Hz average. As for the Bluetooth connection, I couldn't get it to connect to my PC, no matter what I tried. This seems to be a problem in general of some 8BitDo controllers, sadly. I tried to do it with an app I found on Android, but there I got 50 Hz, which I think has to be wrong. But I found some people claiming about 200 to 250 Hz. In general use, I can say that the Ultimate 2C feels fantastic. My initial gripe with the handles goes away a minute or two after using it, and I don't even notice it anymore then. Same with the sticks. They are buttery smooth, with no bumps whatsoever. For my taste though, they could have been a bit more resistant to counteract some wear and tear over time. But other than that, I have no complaints. Getting to the D-pad though, I have to say that I don't like it. It fails pretty bad at the contra test, and it is incredibly easy to hit a diagonal in the heat of the moment. I think this is in part because of how much space the D-pad has. I mean, just look at these gaps. This works alright for membranes, but with tactile buttons, this is just a bit too much. Don't get me wrong, I love how this D-pad feels. But when it comes to misinputs, this is like an Xbox 360 D-pad to me. Now, I rarely point out dongles, especially if there's nothing negative about it. But in this case, I have to. This is by far the best dongle I've used. First of all, it just works. I plug it in, turn on the controller, and that's it. I don't need to hold a button, enter some pairing mode, etc. This is as seamless as plugging in a wired controller. Then the second point is the light. It's not some obnoxious red, green, blue, room illuminating blinking warning signal, but just a subtle indicator. This is how, in my opinion, all dongles should be. So big ups to 8BitDo. The Ultimate 2C also has an extra set of bumpers here on top, similar to something like the G50S. One thing to note here is that these are not macro buttons, so you can only map a single button to them. I would have loved to see a macro function, but at the same time I also have to wonder how often I and others really use them. As such, I get the decision to keep it a single button only. On that note, I also want to mention that the placement of these bumpers is quite nice. It doesn't take too much contortion to reach them. I've seen though that some people would have rather had back paddles. And with all of that being said, let's get to the conclusion. 8BitDo proves that they know what they are doing, as the Ultimate 2C is truly a great controller. It might lack some features compared to others, and of course it has some flaws. And also, the D-pad and the handles are a bit of a bummer, but those are more of a personal thing anyways. As such, this does not take away from my conclusion that I can really recommend this controller to anybody who's in the market for one. And honestly, if I was a console manufacturer, I would just ship them with this controller. That's how much I can recommend it. And with that, I can also recommend to hype, like and subscribe to see more controller and other reviews in the future. The review is over, but this here is a little addendum of stuff I didn't fully manage to incorporate into the review, but which I still wanted to kind of just mention. First of all is, this was specifically a review of the PC version. I didn't even know there was a Switch version, just didn't do enough research. But the Switch version is not that much different. It just has basically gyro, and that's about it. So it shouldn't be too different in terms of how it performs. Then the second thing is, as always, I tested it with the PS3 to see if some compatibility is there. Usually I had some good luck with dongle-based controllers, but it was not something I actually expected to work. It's a nice bonus, but in this case it wasn't part of it. And then last is, what even is the 2C? Because there is also an Ultimate too. Basically the way I understood it is, the Ultimate is basically like the premium version of the controller, while the C is the budget version of it, with some of the features stripped out, which I think that is actually a nice thing. I do like some controllers, I see them and they're like 80, 90, 120 plus bucks, but half of the features I don't even need. So I do like that 8BitDo does that. And of course lastly, this video was provided, you could say, by AliExpress through their influencer program. I got some funds there so I could buy the controller, but my opinions are not swayed, as it was AliExpress that gave me the money, not 8BitDo. So I don't, you know, I could also just say it's crap, which I will do if it actually was. But it wasn't. It's a good controller. Anyway, sorry for this weird addendum here. But thanks for those that listened to it.